Welcome back, everybody, to part three of Unknown of the Dismal Tide NBA preview suffering index. Speaking of suffering, as we speak, the Celtics are just completely kicking the Knicks' ass. It is last night is 119 to 89. Just a total humiliating loss for the Knicks. The discourse is about to be very annoying, but not as annoying as our technical problems. Our enemies are conspiring against us. We have been hacked by Russian malware. Mike
We were
is
shut down by
personally
my former school. It's very funny.
it's very
They
funny.
they found out I was using it, maybe.
Probably. Yeah, Mike no longer has access to that account. The deep state has gotten to him, but he has gone to ground with his bug out bag. And we are here to speed run the hell out of however many teams we can get through until we run out of recording time. We will certainly get to every team at some point, but part three may be split into multiple special episodes here, especially depending on how much time I want to spend ranting about the Philadelphia 76ers. But we're going to go in reverse alphabetical order this time because the boring teams in the last third are all at the end of the alphabet. So we are going to start off with the beloved Washington Wizards, the closest thing to performance art in the NBA currently. Um, yeah, depth chart is
Yeah.
on the screen. Do you have anything to say about this team at all, Waylon?
They're young, and this is kind of my home away from home team, and I like to go to DC once a year if I can, and I like going to Wizards games because they're cheap. They don't have much interesting. Bilal Kula, wow, yeah, Koulibaly.
I don't know.
Oh, I've read
The
it so
French
many
guy, the
times.
French guy.
Yeah.
Actually, the French guy who is not Alex Sarr, the other French guy.
Well, that's the thing. They're young and they have the potential there, but no, this is mostly just a hopeless team
It's junk. It's
surrounded
junk.
by junk and
And
trash.
anybody
Yeah.
who is not junk, Corey Kispert, I think, has been getting some underground play among sort of a lot of serious hoop heads who are insisting he's a secretly good. Kyle Kuzma, not actually good, but he can put up an empty, 18 points per game, and someone will take on his contract because they need scoring. Poole, completely hopeless case. The Draymond punch ruined his career. He will not play in the NBA again when his contract is up. And yeah,
Forgot
everybody else.
Brogdon ended up here.
Yeah, I don't understand why it says his contract is out because I thought he's
I think it just
playing.
means he's out, like he's injured.
Yeah. Well, there's no fucking shock there. Yeah, Brogdon is nothing.
Sadiq
And
Bey's gone
yeah, and
for the
just
year.
Yeah, and just everything else is hoping Alex Sarr can develop a post game. He can't. Hoping Bub Carrington can develop into a starting NBA point guard. He won't. Hoping that Kaishan George can become an efficient 3-point shooter. I'll score that a maybe. I liked Kaishan George in college, and yeah,
There's
it's
probably a deeper dive into the misery of Washington sports in general that a lot of
there
people talk
is,
about.
and I
Um,
don't care to do it. As far as I'm concerned, they've the Capitals and the Nationals have both won championships within I think the last 5 years, right? When was the Capitals
10 now.
Stanley Cup?
It's about 10 now. I think it was 15, 17 thereabouts.
Wow. Geez, where does the time go? Well, regardless, they have won more titles than certainly any team I cheer for. I think if they're going to play the misery card, certainly anybody from Buffalo or Minnesota or anywhere else, not anywhere else, even Cleveland. I mean, they're going to trump them. I think there are multiple teams in the Washington area that are enjoyable to watch, and the Wizards are not one of them. I think DC, outside of the people who work in politics, there is a great town. Food's fantastic, a lot of fun, free museums. The zoo's free. Yeah, there's so much you can do with your time there besides watching the Wizards. They will not be good foreseeable future,
It's
and
over under 19 and a half wins. Yeah.
under. And more
Yeah,
crucially,
the
they are
juice is on
not the
under too.
kind of marquee franchise where Adam Silver will gift them a top level prospect. Maybe they'll win the number one seed in a year where it's a no, it's a nobody draft, but next couple of years, there's some hype prospects coming in: Cooper Flag, AJ Dibansa. Yeah, the Wizards are going to end up with none of these guys. They got their
I
bite
don't
of the
know. Cooper
apple.
Flag going to DC right as Trump gets in. We can
I have made
we can
myself. Well,
see.
we'll talk about the team Cooper Flag is going to go to next, assuming the draft is rigged, and it is. But yeah, Wizards totally at the far
Yeah,
right of the suffering index. Further to the right than even the Capitol invaders of January 6th, I would say. I think if we
gonna
could
kind
make
of
them,
throw
yeah,
this.
yeah, that's that tier. I
Clippers
mean,
are kind of
the Clippers are fucked, but like there's if Kawhi can come back in like January, that's enough to salvage a play-in spot, I think. But they're fucked more long term, the Clippers. The Wizards, however, there's even less here, I think, than the Pistons and the Nets and the Hornets. I mean, it's a total disaster. As far as do they deserve suffering?
I don't think they matter.
No, no. I think they're on the
I'm
same
fine just
line as
putting them on the line
yeah, I think they're on the
with
same
like
line as the
Atlanta.
Hawks. They're not a relevant team. Even when they had John Wall and Bradley Beal, I don't think they even made. Did they even make an Eastern Conference semifinal with
No,
John Wall?
yeah, I think they made it. I think they won a series with him. I think that's about it.
Okay, but they didn't even made it to a conference final. I mean, they weren't even fourth best at any point in the league. And I mean, even you know, I mean, I think even the Hawks made a conference final at some point with Trae Young, didn't they? Or am I remembering this wrong?
I think so. I think they
Yeah, I
made
mean the
it in
Wizards.
the
I mean,
bubble for one, but maybe
uh,
I'm
I
wrong.
I count the bubble. I no one else does, but I'm correct here as always. Yeah,
We must move on from the
we must
Wizards.
move on to the
It's
Utah
painful,
Jazz. The
boring.
Utah
This is at
Jazz.
least something.
Yeah. So the Jazz, this is the team I think will win the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. I think sending probably the most bona fide white guy prospect since maybe Larry Bird
Yeah,
to the
he's
whitest state in the NBA, or at least the whitest fan base in the NBA. And honestly, one of the whiter teams. I mean, sure, they've got Colin Sexton and John Collins, but like I see some pale faces on the Utah Jazz, and their one star, Laurie Markkanen, who I do like watching play. I mean, I love a 7-footer who can move and dribble and shoot.
yeah, Markkanen's good.
Um, yeah, but he is from Finland. I think if you expose him to the sun for too long, he'd explode. Um, and past him, I don't see an interesting team here. Sexton, Clarkson probably get traded at some point as part of the tank. George looked really
I don't know
raw
how bad
last
this
year.
team is if it's a complete tank, though.
This is
I
not a
don't think
complete.
they're
This is
nearly as
not a
bad as the
complete
other
tank.
teams.
This is not a
I
complete
think,
tank right now, and that's actually something I've seen come up in a lot of NBA previews. Is basically what is this team's long term plan? I mean, are they obviously they want to build around Markkanen, and I think that's admirable, but what have they got to show for it so far? I mean, they had two first round picks in a good draft a couple of years ago and came away with Taylor Hendricks and Bryce Sensabaugh, and neither of whom I thought much of as prospects. Um, you know, Clarkson is and Sexton are not top options on a competitive team, but they're too good to be on a tanking team, and they haven't traded them yet.
I think they're
Um,
just a team trying to walk the middle path, not do anything
well, and
too
I don't,
crazy.
and there is no worse strategy in the NBA than doing that. I mean, period. You either have to blow it all up and hope that the balls bounce your way. Now, again, I
I
think they
don't
can
think so. I
finish.
think this is our disagreement, though.
Okay,
I think you have to be middle good and then build very slowly, and that these rebuilds take like 8 years. I think you'll
okay.
agree. Like
I mean,
they
you're
take
right.
forever.
I mean, and yes,
The problem is getting people to Utah. which I think
That's
is
number
about to get
one.
easier because
Yeah.
Utah's exploding in this kind of fake big business way.
Yeah.
And then the other problem is, yeah, you just generally can't misstep unless you have those lottery balls
Right. Well,
going your way. Like the
you
Celtics
are
had the guys where they could make a miss or two.
yeah.
Or you have the
You
draft picks like OKC has where they're allowed to make a few misses.
okay. You are not wrong that walking the path of being middle good until you become good for many years is a viable strategy. That is what the Celtics have done. That is what the Nuggets have done. However, the Jazz are walking the path of being middle bad, and there
Right.
is no obvious path towards goodness here. They're falling into the same trap that the Hawks and the Bulls have fallen into. And unless they go from, I mean, right now, this is probably like the ninth. Well, I mean, the West is pretty tough. I mean,
I think they're about
maybe,
11 in the rankings for
yeah.
most regular
I
season
mean, they will
wins. They're
fall
pretty low
somewhere
tier.
between 6 to 11 in like the lotto order, depending on if Markkanen gets hurt and they decide to mothball him, which if he does, they will. Um, and then at that point, you're just basically hoping that Adam Silver flips the switch. Certainly, if they get Flag, or even maybe like Ace Bailey. I mean, it's enough to start saying, okay, we can build something here. But again, you are stuck in a position where the odds are not in your favor. And I don't know if Adam Silver has been taken to whatever the Mormon equivalent of Bohemian Grove that Ryan Smith did with Gary Bettman, such that he is convinced that Utah is the future of the league. Yeah, I think they're sort of stuck here. What's their over under?
It is 29 and a half, I believe,
Yeah, I mean, I would take the over
which,
on that as they're currently constructed. I mean, that's your problem. If you're a 30-win team in the NBA, you're
yeah,
not bad enough to rebuild. I one other thing I wanted to mention is Kyle Filipkowski has apparently been taken hostage by his much older Mormon wife.
oh God, we
Not
forgot about this. Well, you didn't, but I did.
No, I don't know the full details. I actually thought Filipkowski was a pretty decent college player and was a little surprised he didn't go higher in a bad draft. But again, if the vibes are bad, no, people are not going to want to draft you. And
No,
I don't know where he fits on the roster here.
I don't know, but I almost think this is a good thing for the Utah vibes. I like having your young guy just taken in by a weird religion. I think that's good.
Yeah,
I
well,
support it.
okay. So let's place him on the suffering index. I, they're not especially, they're
Okay, wait. I mean, we can't have them deserving prosperity.
no, but I don't think they like. I don't know how much they deserve to suffer. I mean, they've
I like in this ballpark.
the Carl Malone and John Stockton years are long behind us. When I would say they were at the dead bottom. But I mean, yeah, I
Yeah,
think where you
I'm
have
kind
them,
of getting like just purely they're kind of gonna suffer and they kind of deserve it, and we
yeah,
accept that.
yeah,
Right
yeah.
in the middle.
They're a yeah right in the middle. They're a non-caffeinated beverage that is not too hot to be enjoyed in the middle of the afternoon. Yeah, the Mitt Romney of suffering index.
Just
Okay,
one thing. I think if I
sure.
ever visited Utah, I think I would just turn into a Utah guy. So I
By all
reserve the
accounts,
right.
everybody who has been to Utah who is normal that I know seems to love it. They say Salt
Right.
Lake City's actually fun to visit. The scenery and the hiking opportunities are tremendous. But yeah, for whatever reason, it is just filled with people who came up with one of the goofier religious backgrounds, were immediately and violently expelled from everywhere in the country and winded up there. I don't judge Mormons too harshly because I don't think they're much stranger than basically every other religion out there. But they have their reputation. Okay, the Toronto Raptors.
The Toronto Raptors
What
are
do we think
starting
about these
RJ
guys?
Barrett and paying him 25 million a year. They
Yes,
will
and
not be
people
good.
people are trying to gaslight us that Barrett was turning into the player the Knicks thought they were getting when they drafted him
Wrong.
third, based off of like a 20 game sample size. Yeah, I am not convinced RJ is anything other than just an empty calorie scorer. those guys are a dime a dozen in the league. I don't think he's significantly better than Cam Thomas. Now, granted, we've also been gaslit on Cam Thomas
Right.
being,
We hate
you
Cam a
know,
little, even though I
yeah,
like him, but yeah,
I
for what he
love
is.
Cam, but like the discourse around him is getting a little silly. Beyond that, I mean, Scotty Barnes, I think, is a close to a genuine star. The clearly able to run the offense. But the talent around him, I just don't think is there.
I think
I mean,
Star is high on Scotty Barnes.
he's close to it if he's not there. I mean, I think he's probably a top 20 player in the NBA now.
I don't have a list. I probably never will. I wouldn't put him there, but I mean, he's good. He's a guy to build around. Um, I
Yeah,
don't know.
he
I'm just looking through his what he brings. Yeah, good across the board numbers, but
yeah, but beyond that, I don't see anything impressive about this team. I think I have them finishing 10th in the East and getting a play-in spot anyway, because I think what's here is still probably better than, I mean, certainly better than the Nets, Wizards, Pistons tier. And then I'm not
yeah, but it's
betting
only
on the
just to
only
me.
just. But if you're gonna win, if you win 15 games against those teams and like the Hornets, and they'll steal one or two here from the Cavs or the Pacers or the lower end of the. I mean, I genuinely think they will make the play in with a 35 wins. I
So
mean,
I think we're totally flipped on the Jazz and the Raptors because the Raptors are the team where I think they're middling downward and they're just not getting out of this, that they're living on the Kawhi year
and you
forever.
think the Jazz are middling upward, basically?
I think Ainge is very likely to be able to make the next move. Um,
Yeah, and I think you're still
and I like Markkinen and Kessler.
As a Boston guy, I think you are still drinking the Ainge Kool-Aid. I don't
Yeah, I
think
like
of much of
Ainge.
him as a GM. And I think the Raptors have a fantastic GM in Masai Ujiri, but
That's true.
they need to. There's no direction on this team right now. And like they're paying, like you said, they're paying Emmanuel quickly 32.5. I didn't, is that right? That seems
Yeah,
way high.
this is all accurate when I was
Jeez.
looking. I hate the
Yeah, I
contracts. I
mean,
don't know what's like I was telling you, I don't really get how NBA contracts work anymore. You have to actually stay up on that year in, year out.
it's a
But
disaster. No one can follow. I mean, and but like someone pointed out to me, I mean, Jalen Suggs is making like 150 million, 30 a year at 5 years, and that it sounds wrong. But then someone pointed out that like a roughly average-ish role player uh 10, 15 years ago was making 12 to 13 million. And when you factor in inflation and the salary cap and rising
salary crap,
it is
what I
salary
call it.
crap. Uncapped league. The Celtics just sign everybody and win the next 10 titles. Yeah, when you factor in inflation and then both the rise in the cap and revenue rates, and you just translate it, like it actually goes from 12 to 13 million to 30 million. Like 30 million is just the going rate for a league average starter now who's in their prime. It's bonkers. It doesn't sound right, but neither does, 4.99 for a gallon of milk. And that's where we're at too. And
Last
that
thing,
is,
RJ
yeah.
Barrett can't play defense.
Yeah, no, he can't.
I'm gonna say that's a bad thing.
No, he cannot. He's certainly, I would not. I understand what we just said about adjustment. He's certainly not worth 26 million a year.
No.
IQ, maybe I'd have to dig into his numbers, but I doubt it. Yeah, I mean, this team, they're they're walking the middle bad path, but in the East, where I think it's enough for get to the play-in, but they need to figure something out quickly. Okay, we're past the
Yeah,
12th. Oh, wait,
let's
wait, we've still got to do their over-under and their
well, their over
supplement
under
here.
is 27 and a half, I believe, maybe 28 and
I
a
am
half.
hammering the over on that. I mean, I really think they're a 32, 33 win team and potentially more than that, depending on just how the dregs of the East are. I mean, in
This
terms
is
of
my
prosper,
zone for them. This is
I
my
would say they're
why.
like between, I don't know. I mean, I think they're worse than the Hawks this year,
They
probably,
are
but like
bad.
marginally worse. In terms of
What about right
prosperity,
here? They kind of
it
slide in right here. I
if
think
we have to
Toronto.
if we have to respect whatever particular mental issue you have that the balls cannot touch here, then I, and
Yes.
then I think I would slide them a little lower on the deserves prosperity. Like I don't think there's anything about the fan base. Okay, wait, one
Yeah,
thing.
we haven't talked about Drake yet. That's
is
okay. We don't.
Drake really the Raptors' fault? No, you can't control that.
I guess
Actually,
it's like Mark Wahlberg with the
one
Celtics.
thing that does boost them is that my absolute favorite Twitter account is an alcoholic guy in Nova Scotia by the name of James. He's on like his 15th Twitter account because he keeps getting suspended. I think he goes by Chris Stachio now. And he is literally the funniest account I've ever read. And he's a big Raptors fan, big NBA head
Well, you know
generally.
what? That didn't save the Celtics.
From
Well, I bumped up while you weren't looking. Um,
what you, but
just a little.
you're creeping on me. You're creeping on me. Yeah, bump the Raptors up a tiny bit just for
We'll give
that.
them a half bump for him.
Yeah, and like they won their chip, and I think they're just going to eat like Cleveland. They're going to eat out on that for a
I
while.
really think I don't think it matters to them. I don't think it should. I don't think they should care too much. I think once you've
Yeah.
got that one as a fan base, unless you're from one of the more psycho fan bases or teams where you really deserve to win more, you feel like you got it. It was one of the best runs a team's had. You
Mhm.
killed the Sixers.
Yeah.
It's worth it. Let's move to our favorite little side team, the San Antonio Wendy's. Will Coach Pop do cringe this year again?
Yes, my prediction is like so many people are predicting them as like a stealth play-in team, and a lot of it centers around Chris Paul. And my prediction is that he is washed. He is actually washed. This is not a running on fumes season like Russell Westbrook. I think he contributes nothing at this point. He is 40 years old and he does not have the physicality of LeBron or any other player who can.
Possible Trey Jones start late in the season.
Well, yeah, I think what will end up happening is he will develop zero chemistry with Wembanyama. You're going to see a lot of what we saw last year, where they just constantly mix up the lineups. They persist in just not finding him down low for easy dunks, and then sometime about like February, they'll start playing Castle at the one and discover that, oh, he's actually really fucking good at defense and he's really fucking good in the pick and roll and he's a really good passer because he did all that shit with a much worse center in Donovan Clingan at UConn and won a national title doing that. And no, he can't shoot. But he can probably learn to shoot. And given that this team is not clearly not ready to contend, developing the chemistry between the guy you just drafted fourth, fourth overall or fifth overall, somewhere in the high lotto with your number one overall pick probably matters. I think they'll go on sort of not a late run, but I think you'll start seeing the future late in the season when Pop, comes out of his wine haze, reminiscing about,
Yeah, I hope he's not going to be doing it again, where he
drinking
just tries to
Lambrusco on a
slow
hill
roll
with Bill
everything.
Walton. He anybody who thinks this team is meaningfully going to compete is out of their mind. They have so much draft capital over the next few years that either they're either still
Selling it.
shooting to grab high level players. I mean, the 24 draft was a wash, but if they can luck into an Ace Bailey this year or a Cameron Boozer next year. Alternately, and I was messing around with the Fanspo trade machine this morning while waiting for work to start. They will just package 10 draft picks and Keldon Johnson and Jeremy Sochan and go to Giannis and say, hey, are you done with
Yeah,
Milwaukee? Do you think this is a total fuck up?
yeah,
And that is how you contend.
that's a
That
path.
is how you contend. You build up these, picks are currency. We have both said it, I
Right.
think, for a long time now. Draft picks are currency. You have to cash it in for the right player, cough, cough, Michael Bridges. But That's what draft picks are. And if you're going to do the full scale teardown and luck into a number one pick, and more importantly, luck into a number one pick as potentially good as Wembanyama, this is the time to cash in that capital for a genuine in his prime star. And can they actually get Giannis? I don't know, but if you asked me to run this team, I would probably put Pop out to pasture,
Oh, he's
bring
done.
bring in your former bench coach, who's now the Thunder's shooting coach, the guy who has turned that team into a team of full of stars, and give him the job and teach these fucking guys to shoot and put Giannis at the four next to Wemby, and I don't know, let him cook. But I don't
Yeah, I
know.
mean,
I
I
don't
do
know.
wonder what any of those fits would be. I think we agree that's kind of there's this game theory element to it where you have to spend those resources eventually, but you just can't miss. We've seen a million teams
Yeah.
miss trying to push those, mainly the Bucks, for who I'm thinking of.
I know,
Um,
ironically enough. But I don't think you
but
can
when a team
miss.
does miss, you can really take advantage of the desperation.
Right.
And I, yeah, I mean, I do think that's
And
a
assuming
path,
he,
one of
assuming
many.
he's healthy, I think Giannis is as about as good a shot as you could take. I mean, I don't know how many picks it would take, but like he's not a miss. He is still one of
No,
the
he's not.
three best players in the NBA, and you'd be pairing him next to Wembanyama, who you're hoping will be a top 10 player soon.
Yeah,
And frankly,
and
I would work out the deal to keep Atlanta's 26 pick swap and see if something funny happens with that. Because if you do get Giannis before that season, you will be swapping that pick, and cross your fingers Atlanta bottoms out and you can get another young star player to this mix. But who knows? I mean, the Spurs I think are much more directionless than people realize. We I think Waylon and I have become the big pop haters. I
yeah,
think
it's
the
nothing personal,
bizarre,
old man.
yeah, truly great coach. I think decent human being when you're grading on the curve of
Yeah, I like
NBA
him
coach,
enough. I just,
but it's over. You got on the mic to yell at your own fans about
that's
booing
so
the
funny,
opposing
dude.
team. I know it got memory hold for everybody else, but that speech should have led off like every single, like, what's a Dan Levitard show now? I mean,
I believe it's
it's
called the Dan Le Batard Show.
oh, there you go. It's something that should, like, any kind of tongue-in-cheek frivolous sports show, that should be like an opening. There should be like a button to just play that clip on PTI. Like, it was bizarre, truly bizarre.
In terms of their betting, I want to say a bit here because I think this is wrong at 35 and a half. I think people are buying way
mm,
too much into the
mm,
Wemby
I agree.
hype.
I
And I
agree.
can see on all these sportsbook Wemby specials, they're pushing it.
No, I
Um,
that's an
if I were
under.
a gambler,
Yeah.
I'm hitting against the public there.
Yeah, I'm
I assume
absolutely
it's against the
fading.
public. I
I'm
need to
fading.
research
I'm
it.
fading the Spurs. I would absolutely take the under on that. This team, like, people, like, Chris Paul is 40 years old. He wasn't good last year. Like, are we just missing the obvious here? They have not. They're probably a worse team than last year because Devin Vassal's hurt, and I don't know when he's coming back. Yeah, I don't buy it. And like, I'm going to speak this evil into the world. There is always the risk that Wembanyama gets hurt because he is just built like Gumby, and it is terrifying to watch him twist his ankle and land weird and try to play basketball like John Morant, and you just cringe every time he hits the floor. And I'm hoping
Now,
that he turns into he Tim Duncan's himself to preserve his body, because I think he would certainly be one of the most dominant players on the planet just doing
I think
that.
the other thing about Wemby that'll be annoying throughout his career is he probably will get hurt a bunch because he's a big guy.
I know, I
And
know.
he'll miss a bunch of, but he'll like miss a bunch of 3 game stretches. And
I'm hoping it's the Yao Ming injury path where he's genuinely healthy and dominant for like 8 to 10 years, and then just overall at once, as opposed to the Joel Embiid
we
injury
are
path.
running 10 minutes on time left, so I want to place
Okay.
them. Um, I would say they will suffer about this much.
Yeah.
because I think maybe more over here. We'll see. I think they'll be okay, at least
Well, I
while
mean, and we
they're
do
building.
factor in future value here, and if Wemby
Yeah.
does stay healthy and with all their assets, it matters. Where we
I
pre-
kind of think it's low-key an evil organization, and that doesn't get brought up maybe as much as
Well,
it
there
should.
was that whole God. What was that guy?
I'm trying to
Was it
think of the
Josh
player.
Primo? Josh
It was
Primo.
Primo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a black mark on Pop's legacy. I mean, they totally covered that up. It was an embarrassment. It's Mark Cuban shit. I mean, they should not have. And this is the organization that spawned Becky Hammond, who spent at least an entire season abusing a pregnant woman. So
However,
yeah.
not
However,
however to that. However to the points, I don't think Wemby deserves anything bad, and he's a Dark
yeah.
Tower fan, which is cool.
This is true.
So
He did start. He is a huge nerd. I wish
the
nothing but the
question
best
is
for
who
him.
wins out in this when we root for the
I
Spurs or against them.
mean,
I
shit.
I kind of think all these teams, given the opportunity, are evilish.
Well, it's sports.
So
Everyone's evil in sports. Yeah, I would slot them in there. I mean, they do deserve some prosperity with the caveat that, you're
do we bump them a little or
no,
we'll
just
let
leave
the
them where the
logos
Hawks are. Just leave them.
touch?
Just let the logos touch. The logos are
Just
touching.
I'll do it later if I need
Okay.
to, if I feel the need.
Just make the grid bigger.
Well,
Anyway.
I can't.
Okay, so we're running low on time
We
for
can
this
get one
current
more team
one.
in easy.
It is the Sacramento Kings, which how much do we have to talk about them? I mean, they've become sort of a meme team, and I don't necessarily mean that as a bad thing. Certainly their fans have been pretty long suffering ever since the incredibly rigged series against the Lakers in the early 2000s. A lot of mismanagement at the top, but they've found their way to a team that is probably good enough to win 45 games in the West, and whether that's good enough to make the play in, that's pending. I think their
So a
ceiling
lot
is
of
cap. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of what I know about the Kings is from drafting the Kings players, all of whom I like quite a bit. But
Mm-hmm.
DeRozan eats into their kind of historical value a lot, and just how that plays out on the court with him, Fox, and Sabonis is tricky and unknown. And I mean, we're not Sacramento beat writers, and even if we were, they're going to kind of slow play through the season how they're going to attack and change it up. But
Mm-hmm.
in terms of usage, I guess it should still be Fox as kind of the first option. But
Yeah.
then DeRozan eats into a lot of Sabonis's touches. I mean, he's still, you know, eating up on the boards and doing quite a bit.
Yeah, but the
Um,
fundamental flaw this team has is there's still no D here. I mean, I don't
yeah.
see anybody on here who I think is even an above average defender. I, and I think we've seen it demonstrated over the last few years that you need to have closeout guys. You need to have that Alex Caruso, or you need to be the Celtics and just have four all defense quality players starting for you.
So that was a point in my Celtics Discord we were just talking about. Like, why isn't anyone learning any of the right lessons from the Celtics, where you just need five guys who can cover and switch and defend every position? I know there aren't a lot of those guys out there, but they do become available. Oklahoma City got one pretty cheap, and those guys. I mean, I don't know. We have teams like the Knicks attacking through offense, and
I mean,
yeah,
certainly think the Knicks' plan was to play five out basketball and have a lot of switchable wing, and it has already failed. It's failed.
yeah, I
They
know. But
lost.
Cat isn't a plus defender,
Cat
is he?
strikes me as no, no. I think he's better than his reputation defensively, but he has a lot of lapses. I mean, they got him. I don't know if we have time to go really
We
analyze the Knicks right
don't,
now.
but
Um,
I guess just the point is that a lot of these teams, I was thinking when we go through, and it's kind of my limitation on knowledge too.
Yeah.
Sorry
I
that I
would
don't
I
know
would love to
150
do
starters, but I
a
would
follow
love
up
to know more
episode.
defense.
Yeah, I would love to do a follow up episode at some point where we post mortem the Knicks. I'm already declaring them dead. They gave up a record 29 threes
They,
today on
they
opening
will be
night.
fine, but they will not beat the Celtics in a
No,
series,
they
so
are
they're done.
dead. They are in hell. I am personally going to send James Dolan to a CIA black site in Turkmenistan. It's
They
over for them.
need an injury. Let's play Sacramento. And you know what? Can we just talk about Portland too in 4 minutes and make this the boring episode? Do we have anything to say about Portland?
Oh, I mean, I feel like both of us could discourse on Scoot Henderson quite a bit. No,
Bill Simmons killed his
Let's
career.
save Portland. Let's save
All
Portland.
right, we'll
Let's
save
just play
Portland.
Sacramento real quick. Sacramento is actually a weirdly boring team because other than adding DeRozan, they're
Well, I think the
exactly the
thing is
same
we
as
like
last
them.
year. We like them. We like
I'd
them.
put them in my Pacers tier
I put
of
them a
like,
little lower, maybe.
I feel like that's a lot of respect to the Pacers because I can tell you maybe the
Yeah.
Magic, but no one else I like.
Yeah.
Someone else has to be this high.
But I think where you've put them is roughly accurate. Where you had them before, I think they're more on the
Here?
Will Suffer. No, on the Will Suffer side because
See, I
when you're grading that, well, then I would move the Pacers over a little bit to the Will Prosper because the Kings, I just don't think they're going to be making that much noise in the West. They're
I
basically the
think we
same
could
team as
mirror
last
them.
year.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
fine.
mirror them
That's fine.
where the Pacers are in an easier
And that
conference.
makes perfect sense because the Sabonis Halliburton trade really, I mean, even
They
though it
have the
worked
same
out for,
exact over under, by the way,
yeah,
46 and a half.
I might take the under on that, but it would be close. I mean,
I'd take the under on
The
the
West is
Kings.
hard. Yeah, on the Kings. The West is hard. The West is hard. Okay. I think do we need to pause the recording or can we just are we done for the night? What do we do at this
Well, why
point?
don't we wrap up this one
Okay.
and then think
I want to
about how it
save
goes? We have
Portland.
two
I do want to
minutes.
save Portland because I do actually want to
Yeah,
talk
we
about
can yell
Portland.
about Portland.
Yeah, there's a lot to
We,
yell about Portland,
we
and then
can yell about Portland.
there is so much to yell about. I think of at least three of the final four teams after
Oh, yeah, this
Portland.
is like an hour episode. We probably will do this Thursday.
You're right. I think we may just need to reconvene Thursday
Yeah, I think that's a good
and
idea, and I'll just
then
buy the
maybe spend the
premium.
full hour and a half belaboring the point because I genuinely
All
want to do
five
a
of the teams coming up I want to yell about, except the
Mhm.
Magic, who I quite like.
Yeah, but
Um,
like I think we could probably I could find something to yell about the Magic.
oh
Mainly, who
yeah,
the
the
hell is going to shoot
DeVosses.
threes for them? Oh
Oh,
yeah,
the
we can.
DeVosses.
I don't know how it's pronounced, but Betsy DeVos, the fucking
We've
Amway people. They're the
mispronounced at
fucking
least two
Amway
names.
people. All right, we're done. We will talk. We will come back to you on Thursday. Have a nice night, everybody.
This was the
Enjoy.
boring episode.
It
I
was the
like
boring
having
episode.
shorter
We're
episodes
sorry.
like this,
We are
though.
sorry. But
Um,
Lakers Timberwolves coming up. Hopefully a better
let's predict
game.
it.
I think
Gonna predict the
LeBron.
Lakers by 30.
I'm going to say 122, 121, where LeBron tips in a Dalton necked miss up in front of Rudy Gobert, who just doesn't even try to get the rebound.
127 to 97 Lakers.
Oh, 90. Yeah. No, because the
I'm just
Lakers
trying
can't
to
hit
jinx
threes
them.
like the
No,
Celtics.
I'm openly trying to jinx them.
I know. You can't use your cooler.
I know
Are we
you
still?
can't do it on purpose.
Okay. I think we're out of time.